So I'm here virtually with Steve Dashew because we're going to talk today about the archives for the FPB fleet, which is now at Berthon in secure storage, and we're going to look after it for the future. Big privilege for us, and that's something that Steve has given to us to do. So we've had our IT guys working double time on this for some time because volumetrically the amount of information is enormous, and we're now starting the process of re-archiving, and it's in order, but we want to make sure that we can get at everything. So what actually do we have?
Well, you've got the structural drawings, the systems, all the systems drawings, electrical, HVAC, etc. And perhaps most important, you've got my design notes, which led into each design.
Wow. Yeah, and that's for all 18 hulls, and also for some Mk II FPBs yet to come, and so on.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and I have to say that Linda and I are appreciative of your archiving the materials and protecting it for posterity.
Well, we want to make sure that the FPB fleet, the owners have access to it, and we want to make sure that it's safe and sound because we think that it's a very valuable resource, and so we'll be taking good care from here on in. It seems to me it's a bit like an FPB family tree, except there's a lot more to it. It just doesn't say this is the cousin and first cousin of this person. It tells you all about everything about each person. So how long, just to give an idea of how long this information took to amass, did it take you to come up with the original FPB 83 Windhorse, her design, before you cut plate? Because that's where, I mean, that's where it started, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if you eliminate all the years of sailing and racing and cruising that went into the decision-making process that led to the FPB, and begin from the moment Linda and I said, let's give a serious look at this thing, it was about 4,000 man-hours, and which in my case took place over a little over 12 months. So that was
wow.
Working basically 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge amount of work. So what
That's just the design concept. That's not the engineering drawings and systems drawings, etc.
Right, okay. So obviously you have the design drawings, but that's when you start, don't you? Because I think that you've often told me that you need to design and build, not build and design.
Yeah, so the advantage we have today is that, or the advantage and disadvantage, is that it's so easy to manipulate the final set of lines that you cut metal from, your 3D model. Whereas in the olden days, you draw a set of preliminary lines, you check them, make sure that everything would work more or less, reserve 5-10% of the estimated weight budget in trimming ballast, and then you would start, and you made everything. You made all the compromise to fit. Today, you don't have to finalize the lines until you have the exact polar moments, the distribution of mass in the boat as you want it. The problem is that allows you to go on and on and on, and it becomes a very long process. You get a much better product as a result. Better motion, better performance, etc. But it does take a lot of time chronologically and in terms of man hours.
Once you've finished with the design, then it's systems, it's moment, it's all of those things. So if the design took you a year, how long for everything else?
Well, that's a question of how big a crew you have and how efficient they are. But we normally figure between 14 and 20,000 man hours of engineering and design time on a project.
Wow. So that's so from clean sheet of paper, that's 2 years with a reasonable design office.
A minimum, absolute minimum. Now, what happens normally is that there's pressure from the new owner. They don't want to wait, because if you don't start cutting metal for 2 years, it's 4.5, 5 years before the project is actually floating, and nobody wants to wait that long. So there's a lot of pressure to start to release the lines for developing the metalwork drawings and the systems drawings as early as possible. Then it is impossible to integrate the design. What happens is things just happen. You say, here's the hull, here's the structure, we make it fit. That's the way almost all yachts are built, designed and built today. We don't take that approach because it's just not in our nature you leave tremendous amounts of efficiency on the table when you do that. It's just accepted. We don't accept it, and I don't want that in my own boat, and our clients don't want that in their boats.
And so what are the risks in terms of motion, performance, and so on, if you kind of do the drawings and then release it for the plate and hope it's going to be all right on the night?
Well, you have to be awfully lucky to get it right. It's impossible not to leave significant comfort and performance elements on the table that you could have picked up otherwise. It's just there are too many aspects of the design and engineering to do it quickly. When everything is right in the design, when all the systems are integrated, you have space, you know what the polar moments are, you can refine the hull shape to take into account all these elements. The end result from the client standpoint is significantly better in both motion, in performance, and in access. The ownership process becomes far more pleasurable and less frustrating. If you don't take the time to integrate all the elements, then, for example, you find out that you don't have access to service things. Often you don't find this out until you've owned the boat a year or two, and then you start pulling your hair out. Why can't I get at this? Why can't I get that? To change a pump or an air conditioner takes 2 or 3 days for a couple of men. And so the boat's laid up, the costs are enormous, and it could have been so easily taken care of in advance from a design standpoint if somebody had thought about this in front and made a few slight modifications. There are so many examples like that in the custom building process. If you are successful in integrating the design and engineering and hydrostatic parameters of the design correctly, then the performance of the boat is significantly enhanced at sea. The comfort of the boat is enhanced. The ownership experience is enhanced because you have access and far better maintenance as the boat goes forward in history. If, on the other hand, if you rush these things, then you're going to have maintenance frustrations, downtime, etc., which you would not have had otherwise, and the open ocean performance of the boat will suffer. There's no way around that.
Okay, that's well understood. So what we have is the family tree of FPB. So FPB owners, when they need it, have access to this information so that they can continue to enjoy their boats and perform with them. And my takeaway from this is that if somebody tells you that you can have a design and you can cut plate within 12 months, I should laugh.
You should laugh, and the client should close his wallet. The thing that you have to remember when you're buying a custom boat is that the ownership experience, which includes not only the pleasure of going places, but the pleasure of having the boat operate efficiently and without breakdowns, is a function of how efficiently the boat is built. And if things are rushed on the systems end, then that will show up in your early years of ownership as reliability. If you don't have access, which has to be designed in front, you can't come along after the design is concluded and say, okay, we need more space here, we need more space somewhere else. That's all things which have to be in front. If you do it right, you have access, then you can inspect your systems. You catch problems when they're in their infancy. They're easy to take care of. If you don't have access, then the problems sort of fester, hidden away, and then when they occur, which they inevitably do, it's costly and time consuming.
And of course, as the boat ages, it gets worse.
Absolutely. Unless you have access. If you have access to all your systems and you can do periodic inspections, you'll see signs of problems occurring and catch them before they get serious. If you don't catch them, there's always a cascade, and almost always a cascade of negative events that occur.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thank you for the archive, and the IT guys will continue to beaver away. I love doing these podcasts with Steve on screen and on Skype, and of course we're absolutely delighted to be holding the FPB family tree, and we'll be taking good care of it, and it is a resource that is for FPB owners wherever they are, so that they can understand their boats and continue with their cruising programs. Thank you.